So usually the problems which we cannot solve with a single node or single processor with a limited memory, then we need to have a distributed file system. The file itself may not be able to get stored in one memory disk. Then the file should be divided into different parts, and we will store on different memory disks. So then it is called that the file is distributed on different systems. Even processing also we may not be able to do with only one processor, the whole processing what we require to solve that problem. Then we may need to use more processors. So distributed file system means even the file is distributed, the processing is also distributed among different nodes. So distributed file system computational model, what we are going to discuss, and how we schedule different tasks for different processors, how the data flow refinements will happen to solve a big problem, which cannot be solved with a single processor with a limited memory. So usually single node architecture will look like this. So a computer means for us a node. Here, a node will have some central processing unit, then a memory, memory, this is the RAM memory and a hard disk. So you will have two types of memory. One is the random memory, RAM, then another one is the hard disk. So usually most of the algorithms, what people do is till now, let's say whatever we did with a single node. So only one computer we are using. We are storing data in that. We are also solving our problem by using the same processor. This is the classical data mining, how it looks like. You will have a CPU, you will have a memory, you will have a hard disk. With that, we try to solve or implement the algorithms which we want. So why we are unable to solve or implement some programs with one single node? Because if you see Google, when you are searching, it is finding the relevant pages from 10 billion web pages. It might have changed now. When the people might have prepared this, at that time, it is 10 billion web pages. So 10 billion web pages, each web page, if they want to store, then you can say that it's how big the page is, that much of memory you require. So would you find a single node where your RAM will support first? Okay, if not RAM supports, whether hard disk support to store these many pages. So average size of web page is 20 KB. So if you take 10 billion into 20 KB, you want 200 TB. Sorry. Disk read bandwidth. So how much a disk can read, that is also a problem. Actually, even if you want to put the whole data into disk, how much time it will take and how much speed it will read. So 50 MB per second, it might have been increased now, but roughly you are getting some idea that it's how much time it will take. Time to read 4 million seconds, that is equal to 46 days. Even longer to do something useful with the data. We are just discussing about how much time it will take to store those 10 billion pages if you have a memory available to store that. So but disk has its own limitations. It will read only 50 MB per second. With that speed, it takes 46 days to read. That doesn't end your problem, right? Then you need to do something useful based on that data what you stored. Then how much time it will take, again, you can think of now with the same terms. You can stop me and say wherever you don't understand or you want more clarity. So usually how the distributed computers structure, you can see here one example is given. So there are several nodes are connected through switches. Again, those switches are connected with another switch. So each switch is connecting some nodes. So again, top of those switches, again, those switches are connected to another switch. So 1 Gbps between any pair of nodes in a rack, that is a 2 to 10 Gbps backbone between racks. So how much of load you can put in one rack, then in a one switch, then how many switches can become connected with one switch, all those things are given here. Each rack contains 16 to 64 commodity Linux nodes. What is commodity? Is it to have a special meaning? It's a common English term, right? Commodity means.
Any usable product?
Anything, right? A commodity means it's a group which a common purpose thing or some purpose it is used. That is commodity. So for this purpose, if you have a Linux nodes 16 to 64, they will have in one rack. So in 2011, it was guesstimated that Google had 1 million machines. So 1 million machines. So they were using to implement their algorithms and provide services, such services for people. Then you can see that how Google distributed computers are connected to one another. So each rack you understood now, right? In each rack, there are some computers. Then those racks are connected with another racks. Then there are switches in between. So the space itself is very big, right? If you want to store or keep 1 million machines, how much of space you require? It's a huge space, right? 1 million means. How much 1 million means? We don't use that million, billion terminology, right? That's why I'm making sure that how much of 1 million makes?
10 lakhs.
10 lakhs.
10 lakhs, 10 lakhs machines. So you can think that at least it's 10 lakhs means 5-6 machines or one rack. One rack is at least 2 feet width and 3 feet height, means 6 feet square feet, right? So 10 lakh divided by 5 into 6 feet square. So it's a big space. The space itself, forget about the memory inside. So again, there are some problems when we are using this distributed computers. Node failures. So if one node fails, then what will happen? We will see that some analysis for that. A single server can stay up for 3 years. Usually they got some analytics and they found that usually the life of a server is 3 years. That is 1000 days. So 1000 servers in cluster means if you have 1000 servers, in 1000 days, one node will fail. So if you have 1000 servers, then roughly according to probability, one node may fail. So 1 million servers, if you have, then 1000 failures may happen in a day. So it is a distributed thing. You have distributed your problems to solve for different processors. Then if one processor doesn't complete, then our whole problem will not be completed. Then if you see that 1000 nodes fail means you never complete your problem. Then how to handle this? How to store data persistently and keep it available if nodes can fail? The first problem is that you might have stored some data on that node. If that node doesn't work, then you lose that data. If you lose that data, then your problem will not complete, right? So that is one problem. How to deal with the node failures during a long running computation. So even if you use 1 million nodes, and if your computer or if your problem takes some 3 to 4 hours, so it may fail at any time, even just 5 minutes before 4 hours also it may fail. Then you may need to run the whole process another 4 hours by diagnosing which node has got failed and from where you are not getting the signal to complete the process. So all those things analysis done. Even after that, it's again you may need to do 4 hours. Then again, there is no guarantee that no node get failed. So it's a big, it's a complex thing now when you are using the different nodes. So how to deal with node failures during a long running computation. Another bottleneck for cluster computing is the network bottleneck. So network bandwidth, one gigabytes per second, moving 10 terabytes takes approximately 1 day. So we have seen 200 TB data for Google in 2011. Another 10 years has passed. So it might be something like 10 times than that might be the data now. So 200 TB, it takes 20 days. In today's, then it may take 1 year for them just to move data from one place to other. So distributing programming is hard, need a simple model that hides most of the complexity. So we are not interested in say how these problems are addressed. For the programmer, he need how I can use if somebody build a distributed architecture. So we are going to discuss that. These are the problems which people will handle when they are building such a stack, whether it is MapReduce stack or Spark or any other thing. Then they need to take all these things in their mind. But for the programmer, they need to provide a simple interface so that all these complexities not to be revealed to him. Need a simple model that hides most of the complexity. So that stack, which will hide all these complexities and provide a simple user interface for the users, is called MapReduce stack. MapReduce addresses the challenges of cluster computing, store data redundantly on multiple nodes for persistence and availability. So it will store data not one system, the same data can be stored on multiple nodes so that if one node fails, then it should have a mechanism. It has a mechanism to find out which node failed and from which node it is not getting signal. Then it will also have a mechanism that where is the copy of that data in another node. Then it may connect to that node and assign the new task if any processing should be done. So that processing, so again, it should get the data from that, where it is duplicated. Redundant means duplicated. So store data redundantly on multiple nodes for persistence and availability. Move computation close to data to minimize data movement. So we have seen now network bottleneck. To overcome that, if you have from hard disk to the RAM, that is always easy to port the data from hard disk to RAM. Within the intranet, if you have system to system, then it is easy to port. If you want to use general network, then it takes more time. So one of the principle is move computation close to data to minimize data movement. So wherever data lies, if you can do whatever computation to be done on that data, process that data, analyze that data, do there with that machine only. Don't try to move the data from one machine to other machine to do some computation. Of course, if it is required, if that node cannot process what we are intended, then you need to move to the other nodes. Simple programming model to hide the complexity of all this magic. So these are done back end. So we don't need, means users don't need all these things. So that's why this MapReduce will give you a simple programming model to hide the complexity of all this magic. So you don't need to mention that I need to duplicate this much of data on these many machines, where to store, all those things taken care of this MapReduce stack. So how this redundant storage infrastructure is used? Distributed file system provides global file namespace, redundancy, and availability. So it has a mechanism how to remember the things, where the data is stored, where is its copy on which machines. So that's why it has to be, it has to maintain a clear-cut namespaces, means the address, all those things. And whether the node is available for processing also it should see. So all those things it will maintain inside of this distributed file system. So the implementations, the famous implementations are Google GFS. It is not a open source, but Hadoop HDFS is the open source. So Google GFS means Google File System, GFS. Hadoop. Can anybody reveal what is Hadoop full? What is HDFS full name?
Distributed file system.
DFS is always distributed file system. So because of we are using Hadoop stack or Hadoop platform, we are calling it as a Hadoop distributed file system. So this is open source. So whoever did big data, they did through this Hadoop HDFS file system. Typical usage pattern, use files. So when do you use this distributed file system? Hundreds of GB to TB. So don't use for small problems if you have some 5 GB data, 10 GB data, because your systems, at least your hard disk is now 1 TB, right? Most of the computers which are coming out for scientific purpose, if not 500 GB, means half TB. So data, don't use it. Say when you can do with a single node, don't get into this architecture of the multiple nodes distributed file system. Data is rarely updated in place. Then again, you need to see that it's if data is regularly updated, this system doesn't work that well. So you should find out those problems which data is rarely updated in place. You may add the new data to new nodes, but already stored data shouldn't be updated many times, rarely updated. For those problems, this MapReduce stack will work. Reads and appends are common. You need to read most of the times, then it's okay. This MapReduce will work. If you want to add more data to more nodes, that is also okay. But when you need to update multiple times the same data, then this MapReduce stack is not a great platform for you to use big data problems. Is it clear? Where can we use this MapReduce? What is the first point? Data should be used, right? Because lots of overhead problems will be there for distributed file system. Because of repetition, having this namespaces, all those things. That is the first condition. You should have a very big data or views files. Then what is the second condition?
The data should not be updated many times. It should have rare updates.
Yeah. What about the third condition? Your program should have only reading and appending operations most of the times. Okay. Either you should read the data or append the data. So how this distributed file system replication will work? The replication, because we have seen that it's your computers are connected to rack, then those racks are connected to switches. Again, those switches connected to another switch. So don't replicate in the same rack, because rack also may fail, or the network which is connecting that rack to other one may fail. So that's why if you lose data in that rack, if your duplicate data or copy of the data in the same rack, then you may not get. So that's why here it is given that whatever you replicate the data into different racks, then different switches like that. So here if you see, there are C1 to C5 and D1 is also there. Some files you can see C0 is replicated how many times in this?
Twice.
C0. C is replicated 5 times. C0 itself is one file. C1 is other file. So C0 is replicated twice, but not in the same rack. If you see that dashed line, that tells us that they are in the same chunk server, means same rack. So that is replicated in another. So even if the server fails, this whole chunk server, you can still get data C0 from this. From where you get C1? If first chunk server fails, where will you get from which chunk server you will get C1 data?
C2.
Chunk
C2.
server 2 like that.
Chunk server 2.
Yeah. So if C5 fails, again chunk server 2. If C2 fails,
chunk server 3.
Okay. So this is how the replication will happen. It's this only we are trying to get the ideas. This we are not going to implement. Even who did this big data course, they didn't implement this. They just understood that it's what is MapReduce stack, how it stores files, how it replicates. So this idea is enough for us. This is robust. Even if one server fails, chunk server fails, the copies will be stored in other chunk servers. From that chunk server, it will get the data. That is what you need to remember. So chunk servers also serve as compute servers, bring computation to data. So these chunk servers, so that these servers are connected through some intranet. So whatever processing should be done with C0, C1, C2, C5, those will be stored in this server. So the processing purpose, what files should be close enough, those will be given or prioritized to store in the same server. That is the second concept which we have seen, bring computation to data, bring computation to data, close servers. So what is chunk server? Each file is split into contiguous chunks, 1664 MB. Each chunk replicated usually 2x or 3x, means 2 times or 3 times. Try to keep replicas in different racks. This is the philosophy. Then there is one master node. What that master node, because you need to remember, right? Means somewhere the program has to remember which copy is stored in which node. So that's why one node is designated as master node. That is also called name node in Hadoop's HDFS. Stores metadata about where files are stored. So it will have information which file is stored where. Might be replicated. This master node also, because we have seen in 1000 nodes, one node will fail. That node may be master node also. So sometimes this master node also to be replicated. If that doesn't work, then we need to get the information from its copy. So client library for file access talks to master to find chunk servers. So this master node actually interact with these chunk servers to get the data, to store the data, even to have some process on that data. So talks to client library for file access. This master node will work by talking to the chunk servers or interacting with the chunk servers. Connects directly to chunk servers to access data. So this is how this distributed file system will work. So to summary, in distributed file system, we will use multiple nodes to compute something, to process something. So in multiple nodes, the data also is divided into chunks. Here, the size is given. What is the size of each chunk in this page you see? When your data is very big, then you divide into contiguous chunks. What is the meaning of contiguous? What is the meaning of contiguous numbers?
Continuously, I mean,
There's no gap, right?
No,
For
keeping the order.
second part. So contiguous chunks of what size?
16 to 64.
64 MB means minimum 16 MB should be there, right? To get into this. So anything 16 MB, less than 16 MB data, you don't need this big data or this distributed file system, because you are dividing means only one chunk you will get. So one node you will store. So remember that it's for the practice purpose, let's say when you are doing this big data, you might have used it, but usually in real life, you require minimum 32 MB should be there, or more than 16 MB. Okay, that is what I'd say. Each file is divided into chunks. Each chunk is stored where? And how many times each chunk is stored? How many copies of chunk is made and that stored? On different nodes, 2 or 3 times. It depends on, again, it's if your problem is or processing takes some 100 hours, is it enough to store 2x or 3x? The longer, then there is more chance to get more failures, right?
Right.
Then you also need to repeat that much of time. So it is better when you think that your program takes longer time, then more replicas required, so that you don't waste much time, it's again rerunning that. And the longer period, longer failures means more failures, even there is chance, that's why you need more replications. Then it has a master node where it will keep the information of which file is stored where, and it will also directly in touch with the servers, those chunk servers, to get the data or to get some process out of that data. So this is the rough idea of how distributed file system works, and some idea we got by looking at Google, how that Google rack system, file system are stored, it's how many computers they use. So now we get into the computation model. They're actually distributed file system, how files are stored. We focused on that. Now, what is this computation model? So first we'll take an example and see. This is called here warm-up task. We have a views text document. Count the number of times each distinct word appears in the file. So what is this problem? You are given a views text document. Think that that is some 100 GB file. In your RAM, it won't sit, right? 100 GB file. Will it sit?
No, probably. Most
How big RAM you
GB.
have? Anybody in this group?
16 GB.
16 GB, right? In 16 GB, because you will read that file into RAM first, whatever you want to do, or without reading into the RAM, you will do this. So you will write file open, right? When open means what?
Reading into RAM.
It gets into the RAM. So that is not possible. Now, the problem is, let's see, you have a 100 GB file. Will you get in reality for any application 100 GB file? Give some examples. It may have 100 GB file or 100 GB data. Where the data is generated very rapidly, on which systems you have seen?
Probably streaming data.
Yeah, streaming data. Facebook, if they want to see all the comments, if they store all the comments of all the users in a file, then it may become 100 GB data in 5-6 days, right? How many users are there for Facebook?
Billion.
2 billion. It's India population itself is more than 1 billion, right?
Yeah.
And 20% of the people, whoever is educated, they use. In advanced nations, at least 50% people will use Facebook. So in that, even 10% are more active. So it comes into the billions. So you can see those statistics. So each billion daily one post they put, then how much it comes. It's see. So those places where you can find big data files or huge data. Even for Google search engine, how many people search in Google at every minute? So if it has to do some analysis, right? What are the words people are using mostly that particular day for search? That is one analysis. People might be interested. You might have seen that it's sometimes Google published that it's last year the most searched words. Then they need frequency of each search query. Are you getting my point?
Yes.
So how many search queries will happen for Google in a minute?
Probably millions.
Millions, right? And if you take a daytime, one day, then it, if not in one day, if you see 1 week, what is the most popular word people searched or popular? Again, if they want to do some analysis based on who is the popular person people search it. So all those things like again, Wikipedia also people search most of the times. So this has a views applications outside this, even though it looks like a small problem, but it has views applications. So we have a views text document. We need to just find out, count the number of times each distinct word appears in the file. So each search query, they will attach to a file, append whatever search query comes, append to that file. Then the whole search queries you can find in that file. Then you may need to find out which is the word mostly typed in search queries that day or that week or that month or that year, whatever that it's in. So then we will come to know that what are the, in which people are interested to search. Last week, what was the most interesting part for the people to search? There are many other business type of thinking. People will use that information. Okay, people are interested in this. So they may use it in advertisements, or they may use that information to build some products, whatever that it's in. And they may even they may get some forecasting Amazon type of people. If somebody is searching most of the times, or people are searching for most of the times for a particular product, means maybe that is not in stock, or that is mostly interesting, so they may get more orders for that, something like that. They'll use that information. So now the problem is simple for us. Count the number of times each distinct word appears in the file. So here it is given, analyze web servers. What applications? Analyze web servers server logs to find popular URLs. Term statistics for search. This we discussed about the Google. So case 1, file too large for memory, but all word count pairs fit in memory. So what is this word count pair?
Each word and its
trying to find out?
respective count.
Yes. What are we trying to find out? For each word, how many times it appeared, right?
Yes.
So we will, are words limited in English dictionary? If we go only for English, this, that is limited, right? Even if it is not limited, mostly common words people use, they are limited or not?
Yes, sir.
They are limited. How many you will have maximum? Maybe 10,000, 100,000 or 200,000, right? The words in English.
Yes.
So 200,000 is not a big data. 200,000 words. So even if you take a string of the some 100 characters, so 100 each character, how much, how many bytes you require? 1 byte, or each character is 1 byte?
Yes.
So 1 byte, then 100 bytes. So 100 bytes multiplied by 200,000. So it is still, let's say, it may come to 1 MB, 2 MB data maximum. So this will fit into your, once you find word and count, that can be stored in one computer or in one memory. your small computer, whatever you have. Even in RAM also it will fit because you have 16 GB RAM. Okay, so this is first case. In this problem, we are fortunately the result of whatever that is in the intermediate results can be stored in one memory. So file too large for memory, but all word count pairs fit in memory. Case 2, even the word count pairs don't fit in memory. So that is another case. If you use all the languages in the world, numbers, all those things, or sequence of words, then, and if you make sequence of words as one word, something with adding with underscore, then it, even this file, what you want to get this word count, that also may not fit into memory. So where words takes a file and outputs the words in it, one per a line. So this is simply, it's a words doc.txt. Then you are getting, this is a Linux command is given, how you can use them, and you can sort them. It will remove all non-distinct words. Means whichever is repeated, that will, because you want only unique words. So you can try this Linux command by giving some text document as the input. Case 2 captures the essence of MapReduce. The second thing, case 2, it captures the essence of MapReduce. Great thing is that it is naturally parallelizable. So this problem we can do naturally by parallelization, because you can divide the file into different chunks. In each file, you find your word count. Because words are limited, but that may repeat in different chunks, it's okay. But whatever you are able to find in that chunk, you can store in that node itself. So that's why it is called, it is here said that it's in, this captures the essence of the MapReduce. The result file can be stored there itself. So great thing is that it is naturally parallelizable. Once you get that, it's in this chunk, some word, some happy word has occurred 100 times. In another chunk, it happened 200 times. Putting both chunks together, how many times it happens?
300 times.
300 times. Do you need the data to get this 300? Once you compute, first chunk has 100 times happy, second chunk has 200 times happy word. So do you need again that data to combine these two, to find out the frequency of this happy word in both chunks? You don't need, right? You need only these numbers and that to be added. So that's why you can assign task of one chunk finding frequencies in one chunk to one computer or one node, another chunk to another node. So parallelly, without depending on what other node is doing, they can compute them. Once they get the results, then they can send to the third node. That third node simply add these counts for happy, for other words. So that is what parallelization is happening in this case. So this MapReduce, how this will work, overview is here. Scan input file record at a time. Scan input file record at a time. Extract something you care about from each record. So once you divide into chunks, so each chunk is assigned to one node. So that node scans that chunk. Whenever it scans, it finds something, whatever is to be processed or to find out from that reading. So it should get that. Scan input file record at a time, means only once. Extract something you care about from each record. So that is called here keys. Whatever you are reading those records are keys. Here in this case, word is a record for us. So group by key, sort and shuffle. So once you get these readings of keys, then those keys should be sorted first. And shuffled means because different nodes are reading the same keys and they are getting counts. So to get the same key count, you need in different chunks, what is the frequency of those words you found in different chunks. So all those words should come together, right? Means, I'll explain it again. Happy is found 100 times in first chunk, 100 times in second chunk, 100 times in third chunk. So how do you add up these happy? 300 times has come up because one node has to receive how many times this happy was exist in first chunk, was exist in second chunk, was exist in third chunk. So these three nodes should send that information, happy information, to the same node. In distributed file system, what happens? Again, different nodes will be assigned to compute aggregation of whatever keys you have. So same keys should be sent to the same node. So that is what shuffling here. So shuffle means if you have three nodes, because when you have hundreds of again chunk servers, so hundreds of keys, thousands of keys are generated. And if you use several computers to aggregate, and if this happy word goes to different computers, again, they won't get aggregation. So this particular key should go to the same computers, same node, top of the node, which is aggregating purpose we are using. So for that purpose, we need shuffle. So sort is nothing but if you get all the keys in sorted order, then you will decide that, okay, first 10 will be sent to the first node, second 10 will be sent to the second node. So they are called reducers. We will come to that node, that terminology. So once you get the key value pairs, those key value pairs should be sent to the reducers. Reducers will aggregate whatever is to be completed on key value pairs. So reduce, aggregate, summarize, filter, or transform. So first level is called mapper nodes. Second level is called reducers. So aggregate, summarize, filter, or transform, that will happen at reducer stage. To aggregate, that reducer should receive information of a particular key. So all the information of that key it should get. So information of one key shouldn't be distributed to different reducers. Information of one key should be sent to only one reducer. So write the result. Then again, finally, this reducer completes the process what we are looking. Then in this case, it will find out each word frequency in the document and it will write to the file. Outline stays the same. Map and reduce change to fit the problem. So distribution file system, all those things are same. Only how do you use these nodes for mapper and reduce? How many nodes you need to assign for mapper? How you divide those servers, chunk servers? So those things maybe you need to adjust to the problem. So here the explanation is given what will happen. So in your chunks, your big data is divided into different chunks. You see there are notionally 3 nodes are given at mapper stage. So the V is there. So that got one chunk, key value pairs, that is. So from that chunk, it takes each word and how many times it appeared. In this case, because it is scanning at a time, so that's why it doesn't know that how many times in future it appears. So that's why whenever it sees a word, then it will create word as key and one as the key there. So if it sees happy, so we are all happy, V1, R1, happy 1, like that, it will create word, keyword pairs. Those keyword pairs are sent to these intermediate key value pairs. This mapper will send, means it is mapping the data into key value pairs. Once the mapping is over, then it will send to intermediate key value pairs. So for each chunk server, a node is assigned, that node is doing this work. They're also called mapper nodes. So these mapper nodes will divide your data into key value pairs and will send it to the next stage of computation. So what next stage of computation will happen? Because as I told you, here the sort and shuffle is happening intermediate key value pairs. Once it sorts all keys and values based on key sorting, then all those pairs which have same key will come into one place. All those key value pairs which has the same key will be sent to one reducer node. Once you get in different, this first V is the how many times it appeared in first chunk, second V is how many times it appeared in second chunk, third V is how many times it appeared in third chunk. So in total, how many times it appeared is nothing but add these V plus V plus V. This reducer does, because it doesn't need to do anything with the key. Key is same as it is here, but it will add up all those frequencies in different chunks it appeared. So that is the reducer will do. At the end of this whole process, for each word, because each word is a key, then you are getting how many times that appeared in a big file. So more formally, input a set of key value pairs. Then programmer specifies two methods, map, kv. We need to say that what is the key, what is the value for that. So here key is the word, value is the frequency. Takes a key value pair and outputs a set of key value pairs. There is one map called for every kv pair. Then reducer, all values v prime with same key k prime are reduced together. Reducer means here in this case added, summation of all those values. Reducer may be, we discussed that it may be aggregation or it may be some transformation, whatever that. In this case, it is simply addition of all those values. There is one reduce function called for unique key k prime. So for each key, there is one reduce function. So here more clear example is given. Okay, how many chunks this file is made here? Big. In this figure, I'm asking people who have done big data. Let us see that how much they understood. How many times, how many chunks it has made this big document here? I'm looking for the non-big data students. Can you see left side, any file?
4 chunks, sir.
4 chunks is made. Okay. Then what is happening in the second layer? Read input and produces a set of key value pairs. What is the input for the first node? First chunk document, right? What is there in first chunk document? Just read that. No? What is there in first chunk document?
The words.
The crew of space. This is there, right? So this mapper means this node read this chunk, then it will divide this into words. The first word is what here? The. Then it is creating a key value pair. So what is this key value pair? What is key here? You can see the first key value pair. The is key. What is the value for that pair?
1.
1. The 1 means at that time it has seen the one time. Then what is it is doing the next key value pair? It has seen crew one time, of one time, again the one time. So each chunk is taken and each word is read from that. Then it is creating key value pairs. This is mapper. Then this is the intermediate level. What is happening? Group by key. Collect all pairs with same key. So what is the difference between second layer and third layer? You have still key value pairs, but what happened from first, second layer to third layer in this case?
The same keys are kept together.
So it is sorted, right? The first is C comes first, S, T, like that. Sorting has happened. And also, once the sorting is happened, then they will come together. Then in reducer stage, all crew will be sent to the same reducer because same keys should be sent to the same reducer. So crew is sent to one reducer, space is also sent to another reducer. D is sent to one reducer, second reducer. It is already, it got its load. From shuttle onwards, it is sending to third reducer. Okay. So this is shuffling, means it is grouping together all keys. So it shuffle crew and space has put one reducer load. Then D is one reducer load. Shuttle and recently is another reducer load. So a reducer, what is happening?
It is increasing the value. Say,
Yeah.
whatever
Okay,
the words
right.
having same keys.
Why you got crew 2 here?
As it is having two crews in the second group.
So it is simply adding those values, right, for that
Those
key.
values. Yes.
So crew has values 1, 1, so it is 2. Space has only 1, then D has 3, shuttle has 1. Then by this method, have you got the frequency of each word?
Yes, sir.
You got it, right? Frequency of each word.
Yes, sir.
So what is parallelization here, you see? Because different computers, different nodes can be used at the first step, right? When you divided this whole file into 4 chunks, 4 nodes can do simultaneously this work, finding these key value pairs. Is it possible or not? Once you divide the whole file into 4 parts, can 4 nodes simultaneously or parallelly compute these key value pairs or not? I'm asking you a question.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That is what the whole essence here. Even reducers, when they receive key value pairs, the second reducer, does it need to wait till the first reducer computes its computation? Means adding up those values?
No.
It doesn't require. So parallelly, mappers can work. Parallelly, reducers also can work. The
Yes.
only thing is this group by key. As it receives the information, it has to put into it. It won't store anywhere. It will have one small file like hash map, whatever that it's in. The first key crew, it starts sending to the reducer. Whenever it receives another crew, it should send it to the same reducer, right? Only that information it requires. So hash type of file it requires in the middle. Whenever it receives a key, then it should assign those keys. So for that, it may do some sorting mechanism. So once it knows that it completes the keys, it need only hash map which key to be sent to which reducer. So that will take care by which node in map reducer. In Hadoop, there is a specific node which will do this work, right? Which will receive information from nodes and again send that information to other node. What is the name of that? Yeah.
Name node, master node.
Name node or master node. Yeah. So this master node does this work. So this simple program is given here, map a key value, and for each word W in value. Value is here what? Your chunk is your value here. Okay. So for each word in W in value, emit W comma 1. This is the key value pairs you are making. It's simple program, right? You made chunks. The chunk is in your input. Read that whole chunk now because your RAM can read that. Then for each word, what you see in that chunk, you emit W1. In reducer, because it will get information for that key, whole information. Then key, a word, value an iterator over counts. So you will receive continuously those values. Result equal to 0. Initially it is 0. For each count V in values, you are adding those values together. Result plus V, then emit key result. These are the final results you'll get. So this is the simple program how MapReducer will implement. Hadoop will implement this MapReduce code. MapReduce is not a programming name. What is MapReduce? Again, you need to use the same Java program or Python program, some. What is the MapReduce then?
That's the process to handle the data.
Yeah, it's a concept name, right? You're using mappers and reducers. Or the Hadoop is taking all those complexities, that is called Hadoop stack for MapReduce. MapReduce is a concept. It's an algorithm name. This algorithm to be implemented in different languages, can be implemented in different languages. So MapReduce is a concept or algorithm. Is it clear what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So MapReduce is not a programming name, so don't confuse. Okay. Example, host size. Suppose we have a large web corpus with a metadata file formatted as follows. Each record of the form, URL, size, date. For each host, find the total number of bytes. For this, what you need to do? What is the aggregation here? You need to add the size, right? Total number of bytes means. So map for each record output, host name URL and size. For the same host name URL means for same URL, how much of bytes you got, that is stored in size. So those sizes should be added. So reduce sum the sizes for each host. Some examples is discussing here. So in language model, count number of times each 5-word sequence occurs in a large corpus of documents. Then map, extract 5-word sequence, count from document. So what is the meaning of extract 5-word sequence? What is the 5-word sequence in this file? Give me 1 or 2 key value pairs. Yeah. So 5 words together you need to take. Okay. Then what is the first key you can form here?
Space.
5-word sequence. How many times this 5-word sequence you can see in the whole data? Sequence means what? Elements, continuous elements, right? So 5-word sequence means what here in this? What is the first 5-word sequence in this? The crew of the space. 5 words are there in the whole, no, in the first line itself. Count no, the crew of the space. How many words are over?
5.
5 words are over, right? That is one sequence. Then what is the next 5-word sequence here in this file? Crew of the space shuttle. So what is the next 5-word sequence here?
Endeavor recently returned your.
Of the space shuttle endeavor. So one word will go, one word will add, right? That will become a 5-word. So that is useful to find out it. See, in plagiarism, people will use this type of things because they will change some of the things here and there. But in the suddenly, it's 5 words in a sequence using 2 different people multiple times is very rare. You understand how your plagiarism, all those tools will work. It's people might have told you it's you plagiarize it. There are some algorithms to find out. So they won't see exactly the whole thing is matched or not. So this 5-word sequence is 5 or whatever that it's in. If they can find some large parts repeated in 2 people's submissions, then because 2 different people may not get it, long sequence of words, unless that is a famous proverb, whatever that it's in regular writing. So they cannot get it, all the words in the same sequence. As it becomes longer and longer, they may have 2 words most of the times in the same sequence, they might have used it. But 5 to 10 words, 20 words, if you go to the longer, then the sequence of words, the way they put their sentences will not match that easily. If that is matching means what? They have copied to one another or they have copied from some source. So that is one application. It's simple, it's a frequency count. That itself has lots of applications which we have seen in real computing world. Is it clear the example where this MapReduce is used and what type of applications for this small example we have? So this is again the how the stack works, scheduling and data flow. It's simple in terms to understand now. You have seen the example, then these M's are nothing but your mappers. So mappers are provided key value pairs. This big data, these mappers will provide key value pairs. So this big document is divided into what now? Different chunks. Each chunk is assigned one mapper node. That mapper is providing output key value pairs. Then in the middle, the master node takes care of the group by key. That is nothing but your sort and shuffle phase. Once sort and shuffle happens, this master node is again sending key value pairs to what? Reducer nodes. So same key value pairs are sent to the reducer nodes. Reducer nodes are computing something based on those key value pairs, particularly on values. It may add up those values or it may transform those values, whatever that it is, whatever task is assigned to that. So those reducers will give the final output. So this is the how data flows in MapReduce. So MapReduce in parallel. So map task 1, map task 2, map task 3. So same keys should be sent to the same reducers. So that's why it first group by the key, and all the information of that key should be sent to the same reducer. So this is giving little bit more explanation of how sorting and shuffling is happening. All phases are distributed with many tasks doing the work. So MapReduce environment takes care of partitioning the input data. What is the meaning of partitioning?
Dividing.
Chunks. The data into different parts, right? Scheduling the program's execution across a set of machines. What is scheduling?
Assigning different chunks to different mappers.
Right. So it has to tell which mapper has to do work on which data, all those things, right? Scheduling the program's execution. So execution. Finally, it has to find out that execution is finding key value pairs is execution there. And for reducer node, execution is adding up those values is execution there. Performing the group by key step, then handling node failures, all these things should be taken care of in MapReduce stacker, whoever provides. Managing required inter-machine communication. Master node to nodes, again master nodes to first mapper nodes, then later master nodes to reducer nodes. So managing required inter-machine communication. The data, whatever it after processing, it generates the outputs. That output should be conveyed to the master node. So data flow input and final output are stored on the distributed file system, because output also may be a very big file. That's why it may be stored in distributed file system again. Scheduler tries to schedule map tasks close to physical storage location of input data. This is our second principle there. Bring the computation close to data. Intermediate results are stored on local FS of map and reduce workers. Local file system, local FS means within the RAM itself, they try to store that. Output is often input to another MapReduce task. You can also use recursively this MapReduce taskers, task machines. So one reducer output may be a very big, again, some process to be done, that output. Again, you can use another MapReduce system. So output is often input to another MapReduce task. Coordination, master node takes care of coordination, task status, idle, in progress, completed, because if some node failures, it may not get information, the whole computation will be halt. So that's why it frequently will see that whether the node is performing or executing or not, they assign task to that, whether it is in idle state or in progress state or completed the task. Idle tasks get scheduled as workers become available. So if task, you have only 2 nodes, but you need to perform 4 tasks, then 2 tasks will be in idle Once those two tasks will be assigned to two nodes, those two nodes, if they complete, even one node complete, if that is available, then another task, whichever is put in idle, will become available, will be sent to available node. So each task, when it is dividing, it will maintain a status of those tasks like idle, in progress, completed. Then whenever the worker is means node, whenever node is available, then it will assign the task to nodes. When a map task completes, it sends the master the location and sizes of its R intermediate files, one for each reducer. The same thing, whenever reducer is available, it is already grouped keys by grouped key value pairs by key, then it will send that whole information to reducer. Master pushes this information to reducers. Master pings workers periodically to detect failures. So it will also keep an eye whether they are working or they are in good condition, those nodes, and executing, or they got some failure. Dealing with failures, map worker failure, map task completed or in progress at worker or reset to idle. So map, if it completes, then it will get the information. If it is in progress, it will leave. If it failed, then again, it will reset to idle. Whenever a new node is available, the same task is assigned to whichever is put in idle is assigned to that node. Idle tasks eventually rescheduled on other workers. Reduce worker failure, only in progress tasks are reset to idle. Idle reduced tasks restarted on other workers. What is the meaning of this? Only in progress tasks are reset to idle. So if it fails, only in progress at reducer will be reset to idle. Which are completed, they won't touch. Which are not started also, it won't touch. So whichever is in progress, but that node failures, then they are assigned to different nodes. First, it will change to idle. Whenever the worker is available, then it will assign the task to another worker, available worker. Idle reduced tasks restarted on other workers. Master itself, if that fails, map reduced task is aborted and client is notified. So again, if you don't have replica of the master, then you need to restart the entire process. And the client is notified that the whole process is started again. How many map and reduce jobs? Convention here. M map tasks or reduce tasks. Rule of thumb, make M much larger than the number of nodes in the cluster. So if you have 10 nodes, then you make 100 map tasks. One DFS chunk for map is common. Improves dynamic load balancing and speeds up recovery from worker failures. So you need to load balance. If some mappers are quicker, then you may need to use them more often instead of assigning first itself, okay, 10 tasks for you, 10 tasks for you. Some nodes may work slow because we are using different nodes. They may not have the same processing speed, same memory, all those things. So that's why this load balancing is also important. Usually R is smaller than M because output is spread across R files. So in usual, people will have less number of reducer workers available than the mapper workers. The last part for today's discussion. So some combiner concept is there. So do you need to send, now we have seen for each time we are sending key value pair as D1, Crew1. Can we do that aggregation, whatever is available at the mapper node itself? Then you don't need to add 1 + 1 + 1. Instead of that, whatever reducer is doing, half of the part is done at the mapper nodes itself. That is the concept which we discuss now. Often a map task will produce many pairs of the form KV1, KV2 like that for the same K, for the same key K. Popular words in the word count example, just now we have seen, each time whenever it sees a word, it is sending a key value pair like a word, comma 1 to the reducer. So can we make at that node itself, okay, this word K appeared 10 times, so I will aggregate here itself. different chunks may have different, but at each chunk can we make this aggregation? Can save network time by pre-aggregating values in the mapper. If you can add up those values and send only aggregated values, it becomes faster because all these key value pairs should travel through network. So anyway, anytime sending data through network is costly one. Second, it is slow also. Hard disk to memory is faster. RAM to processing is faster always. So combine scale list V1, V2 means there itself it aggregates how many times that particular word appear instead of sending each time the word comma 1. Combiner is usually same as the reduce function. So you are adding that reduce function to the mapper node itself now. But whatever the words appear in that chunk. So back to our word counting example, combiner combines the values of all keys of a single mapper, single node. Here mapper, then you have seen A, B, A, C, A, D, B, B, D, C, B. Then here B1, C1, D1, E1, how many times it appeared? That is what D1, B1. Combiner means it is in the mapper node itself. So B how many times appeared here? Instead of sending B1 twice, it will aggregate here. B1 appeared, B appeared 2 times. So only one key value pair it will send instead of 2 times now. B2, C1, D is also sent only once instead of 2 times E1. So remaining process is same because at reducer level you are adding simply values. Earlier you were adding 1, 1, 1, 1. Now you will add how many times that word appear in that chunk. So much less data needs to be copied and shuffled. So this is what advantage if you use that combiner concept, which is attached to mapper node itself. Combiner trick works only if reduce function is commutative and associative. It should be independent of in which sequence you aggregate them. Summation, whether you add 3 and 4 or 4 and 3, you'll get same. That is commutative. So that's why it will work. Associative means if you want to add 3 numbers, whether you add any 2 numbers first, then other one you'll get the same result. Then that is called associative. Associative is A plus B plus C, adding first A plus B, then adding C is equal to adding first B plus C and adding A. That is associative. Whenever your reducer task is commutative and associative, your combiner task, then it will work. Otherwise, it won't work. So for some, it will work. For average, it will not work unless you store for how many numbers it is average. So it can be made average. For median, will it work? Combiner concept. For median, will it work? It won't work. The color says average can be made. Your key value becomes again a pair of key, comma, average, and the n also you need to send for how many values that is average. Okay. Then it can be made to work combiner a little bit. It is little bit different than the reducer task. For median, you cannot make because median is not commutative, median is not associative. You know what is median? You need to sort the elements, then middle value is called median. So it is different from average, remember. So your median is different for different chunks, right? And they won't give you any idea of average of those medians, whatever that is. So that's why you cannot make this median as a combiner concept. So refinement partition function want to control how keys get partitioned. So how do you partition means which reducer will receive which keys? That is called partition again. The set of keys that go to single reduce worker. System uses a default partition function, hash key mod R. So if you have R reducers, then it will have some hash map based on this mod R. So whenever it comes, then you are dividing into those keys to different reducers. I think you have studied hash functions, then you may understand better here because you have only R nodes. So these keys will produce some integers, this hash key. those integers, you will see that if you have whatever integer comes, we think that they are randomly generated, those keys. This hash key is again integer, a random integer. All integers will have the same chance to get that hash key value. Then mod R. So you have 7. So anything 8, 9 will come. Again, 8 will go to 1, 9 will go to 2, like that. 10 will go to that mod R function. So system uses a default partition function, sometimes useful to override the hash function. You can also override the hash function if you feel you are not getting good load balancing for these reducers. Hash hostname URL mod R ensures URLs from a host end up in the same output file. So Google MapReduce uses Google file system for stable storage, not available outside Google. Hadoop open source implementation in Java uses HDFS for stable storage. So you can download this Hadoop here and try implementing this algorithm. Then Hive Pig or top of the Hadoop provides SQL-like abstractions on top of Hadoop MapReduce layer. Then cloud computing, ability to rent computing by the hour, additional services, example, persistent storage. So you can keep your data not to it's corrupt or whatever that it's persistent. Example, Amazon's Elastic Compute Cloud, S3, stable storage. Elastic MapReduce is also available in Amazon AWS EMR. So if you want to read, there are some resources are given here if you are more interested. So you can go through this. So this will give an idea of how, when you have big files, if you cannot store them in a file or process them with a one node within a memory, then you can use this MapReduce concept, Hadoop stack, to implement this MapReduce algorithm. Still, you can compute what you want, provided those three conditions. You shouldn't have many modifications for the data already stored. What is the second condition? Anybody remember? Three ideal situations we put, right? The file should be larger. Second is the not many modifications to the stored data. You can have read and append things. What third one? What is the third one? Yeah, the third one we included in both. Updated and reads and appends, we put in same line, right? Now, less updates, but you can have reads and appends as many as you want.